My name is Mohammed Asfahan, and I am currently undergoing teacher training as an English teacher. Part of my training is creating a reflective vlog explaining the importance of being an innovative practitioner. I will be using Rolf et al.'s reflective model, the what, the so what, and the now what. Firstly, I'll be asking the what questions. What is the problem? What is my role in this situation? What I was trying to achieve, and what actions did I take? We'll then be looking at the so what questions. So what knowledge can I bring to the situation? What theories and knowledge, what theories and evidence have I used to base my actions upon? And what impacts did that have? We'll then be looking at the now questions. What do I need to do in order to make things better and improve things for my learners? How am I going to maintain the skills I have reflected on? And what tools and what are the broader issues that need reflecting? So when we think about innovation in education, what we tend to think of it is the new digital technologies that we are bringing to the classroom and how we can improve the experiences of a learner through the digital technologies. For example, the use of iPads, laptops, Chromebooks, interactive whiteboards, reading pens. Each of these can be built into the lessons. However, innovation is not just about the new technology advances that we see worldwide. It is about new strategies and approaches that we can implement within our lessons to enhance learning and to give learners a better progression within all academic subjects. Even though there have been so many developments and advances in the world, we are still teaching traditionally in classrooms in the same way as the Industrial Revolution. Learners are sat in rows facing the teacher, who is the focal point, teaching and is giving out information and instructions. We are seeing this throughout all educational settings, from primary schools, secondary schools, colleges and universities. However, teaching in this way requires to be greatly changed. As mentioned earlier, the modern world is changing. However, people are still teaching and learning in a way that was invented in the Industrial Revolution. Learning experiences could be changed to be much more relevant to learners' interests and career prospects, customized to their aptitudes and special educational needs and disabilities, and social, emotional, mental health needs. Also, responsive to their cultures and identities. As outdated thinking about how to design a school leads to poor performance, innovation in education encourages an openness to looking with fresh eyes at problems and to address them in different new ways. It is recognition that we don't have all the answers and we are open to new approaches to improve such methods of knowledge transfer with innovative teaching strategies. The thinking process that goes into innovative lessons will help learners develop creativity and problem-solving skills. Innovation does not imply creating something from scratch in order to formulate a new hypothesis to test. It draws on existing theories. Innovation enhances education because it forces learners to use higher order thinking skills to solve issues. GCSE English language is compulsory subject that has to be taught in all secondary schools, and since 2013, learners who fail to achieve a level 4 grade or above in GCSE English will have to continue to study the subject and resit the exam. GCSE English at grade 4 is vital for a whole range of employment options, college, sixth form and university courses. For most jobs, employers will look for good communication skills, both written and spoken, and the ability to read with insight and understanding. It could be argued that it is important to be an innovative practitioner due to the rigidness of the national curriculum and to engage learners in a subject. And innovation has to play an integral part. To do this effectively, it is my responsibility to teach in a way that is best for them to thrive. To illustrate, I have strategies and resources in place, such as the first past the post game. This is an innovative resource that I have created with the input of my learners. The first past the post is a game that involves a race mat, set of cards and pieces as shown on the images. As well as playing alone, it can be played in teams. Learners are required to answer questions on the cards that are related to the topic being taught. Players move one space forward each time a correct response is given, and this acts as a stimulus, as moving closer to the finish line gives us feeling of an instant reward achievement. In working in this way and offering this resource, we are seeing learners progress and becoming more engaged. Not only am I offering innovation, but a new approach to teaching. Teaching in this way allows me to offer a humanistic approach and constructive approach. Also, working in this way allows me to meet the following professional standards, such as Professional Standard 11, develop and apply your knowledge of special educational needs and disabilities to create inclusive learning experiences. Professional Standard 15, plan and deliver learner programs that are safe, inclusive, stretching and relevant to learners' needs. And Professional Standard 16, select and use digital technologies safely and effectively to promote learning. Project-based learning is a teaching and learning method in which learners gain knowledge and skills while investigating a problem or question that is extended over time. Project-based learning is a popular teaching practice built around learner-driven projects done either independently or collaboratively that are often shared with one or more groups of learners. This way, learners are encouraged to learn by doing, which may lead to more interest, excitement, and energy in the classroom. In English, this can be more engaging for my learners than studying words and skills in an abstract way. Whilst it has been argued that active experiences such as project-based learning and learners can be reluctant to change, it is important to point out that deep learning takes place, which is crucial to academic and social development. In allowing learners to actively participate in project-based learning in regards to poetry writing, it became apparent that some learners viewed writing poetry as boring and for people with no lives. This demonstrated the lack of understanding and knowledge learners had on this topic. To tackle this perspective, I organised for a workshop in school with the help of outside agencies such as the Young Writers Organisation, who delivered a workshop on poetry and creative writing, which also featured a professional poet sharing their experiences. This involved learners actively taking part in interactive activities. By utilising their prior knowledge, learners collaborated with outside agencies, which resulted a shift in perspectives on the topic of poetry writing. Learners were challenged as a result of the project-based learning. Not only was it successful academically, but on a personal level, as learners viewed poetry writing from a different perspective. In working in a way that is project-based and getting learners to work together and collaborate with each other to reach the end goal, we are seeing learners work together and hitting the higher end of Bloom's taxonomy. Generally, when they are in the classroom and are reading and writing, they can become dysregulated, therefore only hitting the bottom tiers of Bloom's taxonomy, which is knowledge and comprehension. As they are unable to engage in lessons, we generally don't see them hitting the top end of Bloom's taxonomy. However, in a project-based approach and experiential approach, we see the learners being able to create and synthesize. We see them evaluating the work that they achieve or the progress that they have made. We see them analyzing. We see application of knowledge, and we see in them being able to comprehend what they have already learnt and these new skills that they have learnt. So working in this way is seeing higher progression and deeper learning taking place. Innovation includes finding better ways of doing something, new ways of looking at problems. Experiential learning is another innovative technique that I find useful within my specialist area. In using experiential learning, learners have successfully retained knowledge which they have reflected and built upon. Although it has been argued they would have to enter the wider community to gain the authenticity of experiential learning, situations can be authenticated within an educational environment and can be just as effective. Experiential learning prioritizes to experiences the learner faces a real situation which acts as a starting point for acquiring skills. They learn through experience and stay motivated due to the relevance of the learning process. There are many benefits of experiential learning. As the pictures illustrate, I took a group of learners to visit Shakespeare's Globe Theatre so that they could experience and gain knowledge of how a play is performed on stage. Also, I took learners to visit a war museum. This form of experiential learning helped learners in coming up with ideas for a writing competition and on the topic Gothic literature. The innovative resource that I have created is linked to the theories of constructivism, both social and cognitive. My innovative resource allows learners to induce on prior knowledge and experiences related to English in line with the constructivism theory. When utilized, the resource promotes a democratic, inclusive and interactive process that enables learners to act independently and actively participate in the activity. This will then aid them in forming and reforming existing interpretations they are familiar with. As mentioned earlier, learners had an input into the development of the resource, so therefore were tasked with finding a solution to the type of resource that should be developed as they were involved in the initial production of the resource. This fostered conversations and the exploration of ideas when explaining their point of view. The resource is diverse and ranges widely as it can be used independently, in pairs, or in groups. The process is supported by cognitive learning theory when the resource is accessed independently, and it links to Vygotsky's social learning theory. An example of this is the game can be used to teach them something new, like spelling. First using phonics to sound out the letters, then saying the word out loud to spell, and finally, without help, as learners spell it independently. Additionally, the zone of proximal development is applied, allowing learners to use the resource in pairs and small groups. This also indicates the difference between what learners can do without guidance and what they can achieve with the encouragement and guidance of a skilled partner. Using a humanistic approach and offering experiential learning poses further research in the area. Will it close the gap between learners that see barriers within a highly academic and writing-focused classrooms, such as learners that suffer from dyslexia, special education needs and disabilities, and social, emotional, mental well-being needs, and learners who don't face such struggles? For example, learners with dyslexia who constantly have to read and write all day sit at a desk. Due to this struggle, it is using a humanistic approach and offering experiential learning going to close the gap between our academic differences? Technology is shaking up the education world, and it is clear that it will have a big impact on the future of education. By using technology to improve the teaching and learning experience, you can boost your education and make it more efficient and effective. ICT can be seen as offering ready solutions to the pedagogic and institutional shortcomings that is restricting teaching. The pandemic has taught me that it is very important that I am adaptable and diverse and open to changing my teaching style whenever it is required and using a range of online resources. For example, if we were to experience another pandemic, it is important I am able to teach and engage my learners through hybrid learning such as Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, Mentimeter, Zoom, online quizzes such as Kahoot, and other technological learning devices. This will demonstrate my innovation in a classroom and the use of different technological resources. Currently, I am making the use of many of these technological devices such as Google Classroom, and this is very beneficial for my learners to experience because if we were to have another pandemic, then my learners will still have access to learning at home. As a result, they will not be faced with another barrier to learning as I am future-proofing my learners via my innovation. Therefore, I believe the education system and curriculum needs to be revised and technology needs to become a priority nationally. What are the difficulties? Firstly, how can this type of teaching be tested using standardized technology? We have to try and adapt the way of teaching and the way of delivering an experiential learning so that they can meet GCSE specifications on national curriculum standards. Secondly, this way of teaching is not always accepted, especially by teachers that are very experienced and have been teaching for many years using old teaching practices. On reflection, I believe embracing innovation in education promotes critical thinking, a sense of adventure, and an openness to adapt that will serve my learners in a classroom. It will provide them with the necessary tools to tackle the challenges of their future workplace and give them the confidence and skills to continue to adapt. To move forward and underpin my teaching, I will be reviewing the curriculum and my schemes of work to ensure I continue to teach in an innovative and hybrid way. This is not only to engage learners but to ensure lessons can be easily adapted in situations such as the COVID pandemic. To progress and develop, I'm going to continue my personal development within my setting on a regular basis.